From the Great Northwoods to the Rockbound Coast and streaming live in HD worldwide at foxbangor.com. More people choose Good Morning Maine.
Hello everyone. Today on Good Morning Maine, police arrested a suspect who fled yesterday after an alleged assault in Old Town. We'll have those details coming up.
Also, as college students make their way back to school, business owners say they're cracking down on the use of fake IDs.
And several EMS professionals were honored at the State House in Augusta for their commitment and hard work. Good morning and welcome to Good Morning Maine. I'm Janessa Bishop.
And I'm Craig Colson. Thank you for joining us and happy Friday to you.
Yes, happy Friday.
Almost through another work week.
We are.
Coming up today, we'll have all the latest news. We'll also be hearing from the owner of a new Pilates studio.
Yes, Lifestyle Pilates and Brewer.
Yeah.
And I'm going to actually be doing a demonstration with her later on in the show, so that should be fun.
Yeah, we'll look forward to that a little later on. But first, to check with that forecast, the weekend is finally upon us.
It is.
Today we might see some clouds, and maybe some passing thunder showers, no big deal.
Yep.
Tomorrow, though, looks fantastic.
It really does.
Yeah.
Sunny skies. We'll turn things over to meteorologist Evan Biggs.
And thank you very much, Craig and Janessa. Happy Friday. Your first weather forecast brought to you by Clifton General Store. Start your morning right at Clifton General Store. Fresh coffee and hot breakfast. Family owned and operated. Alrighty, let's get into things this morning. We do have a dense fog advisory in effect for the southeastern parts of the state, and that will last until about 9 a.m. as we head through this morning. So we are watching for some reduced visibility. And we can see that with the observations that are showing up across parts of Washington County. So definitely be careful if you're traveling in this area. Visibilities will be reduced as a result of some areas of dense fog. In the meantime, we are watching an area of low pressure tracking through. We are seeing some clouds developing and a few showers and some thunderstorms will be developing today as we do move forward. We are seeing some precipitation to the north for now and also to the south. We will see some in our backyard as we do move forward today. Futurecast showing some development too, along with some clouds. We'll see things backing off later on tonight, with Saturday being a nice day with everything clearing out. The hourly forecast moving forward again. We'll have clouds, a few showers and thunderstorms on the way, with temperatures warming up into the 70s through the afternoon. Your full 5-day forecast is coming up. Craig and Janessa.
All right, thank you, Devin. We'll look forward to that. Well, first this morning, the manhunt has ended for a man wanted for an alleged assault up in Old Town. A large police presence was spotted in the area Thursday following an alleged incident that happened in a home on Poplar Street.
Yeah, it looks like it's going to be involving a Nathan Lagasse having a schizophrenic episode and has assaulted her with a knife.
The individual police were looking for is 28-year-old Nathan Lagasse. Lagasse is accused of committing domestic violence assault against an adult female who police say suffered non-life-threatening injuries, described as lacerations. The alleged assault is believed to have taken place at that home on Poplar Street around 11:30 a.m. on Thursday. Stillwater Avenue between Kelly Road and Orono and Chase Road in Bangor all closed yesterday as a helicopter searched overhead and police were on the ground. The details of his arrest are still unknown, but we confirmed he was arrested and booked into the Penobscot County Jail around 1 o'clock this morning. He's now facing charges including domestic violence, elevated aggravated assault, kidnapping, and obstructing the report of a crime.
Well, meanwhile, after less than an hour of deliberation, a Somerset County jury convicted a Norridgewock man of murdering his girlfriend's son. According to a report on centralmaine.com, 60-year-old Daniel Markey was convicted of intentional or knowing murder in the shooting death of Christopher Nickerson in early March of 2025. He now faces 25 years to life in prison, but the court has not yet set a sentencing date. In the meantime, he will remain in the Somerset County Jail. The report says the trial lasted for 2.5 days and the jury deliberated for roughly 40 minutes. Marquis' lawyer says that they plan to appeal.
Police are investigating a fatal crash in Augusta that happened Thursday morning. Augusta Police Chief Kevin Lully says just before 6 a.m., officers responded to the area of Route 3 and the West River Road for reports of a two-vehicle crash. Lully says they came upon the scene and found a Kenworth commercial truck driven by 29-year-old Christopher Armstrong of Washington, Maine, and a Toyota Camry driven by 29-year-old Cameron LaFletch of Winslow. LaFletch was pronounced dead at the scene. Both the Augusta Police Department and the Maine State Police are investigating, And if you have any information about the crash, you're urged to contact the Augusta Police Department.
Well, in other news, a suspect in Bangor stabbing has been indicted for attempted murder. 37-year-old Abel Perez of Bangor was also indicted on several other charges, including elevated aggravated assault and theft by unauthorized taking. Just before midnight on June 20th, police were called to a residence on Essex Street for an assault using a knife. A spokesperson says that officers found a victim with critical injuries that had been stabbed. Perez was identified as the suspect, but he then fled. He was arrested in New York 2 days later. Well, the grand jury also indicted a man on numerous charges in connection with a shooting on a Bangor trail. 38-year-old Justin Grover of Bangor was arrested after a man with several gunshot wounds told officers that he had been approached on the trail and shot by an unknown individual that had fled. The grand jury indicted Grover on elevated aggravated assault, unlawful possession of drugs, and possession of a firearm by a prohibited person. And finally, 2 people were arrested after allegedly entering a man's home in Bangor and assaulting him with a baseball bat. They were also indicted. 28-year-old Serena Butcher of Bangor and 26-year-old Bradley Dean of Brewer allegedly went to the man's home to get some information about their friend's car that had been stolen. They were both indicted for burglary, assault, and aggravated criminal trespass.
A bridge in Millinocket was dedicated to a fallen Maine State Police detective who died in the line of duty. Our Sam Miller with that story.
At 10 a.m. Thursday, a ceremony at the intersection of Route 11 and North Twin Dam Road in Millinocket officially dedicated a bridge to the late Ben Campbell, a Maine State Police detective who was killed in 2019 when he was struck by a wheel that detached from a passing logging truck. Senator Susan Collins, as well as police officers, friends, and family, all came to pay their respects to an officer who embodied the term service before self.
He was a hero not because of the way that his life ended, but because of his commitment to our safety each and every day.
After Campbell's passing, the Maine State Legislature voted unanimously to name the bridge in his honor. Colonel William Ross, Chief of Maine State Police, hopes that those who drive across will gain a better understanding of what it means to serve.
When all of us go out, law enforcement, first responders go out, and they're there to serve and protect the public. And some of us end up making the ultimate sacrifice with their lives, and that's what Ben did.
Campbell's colleagues describe him as a model officer with a positive attitude and say they can't think of a better way to keep his memory alive.
Just a great reminder for anyone driving past here, to always remember. And of course, people that know him and worked with him will never forget him, but so that everyone else since then can also memorialize him also.
He was just a good guy, a solid trooper, did really well. I'd seen a lot in his short career. He'd done a lot, got promoted early to detective.
The newly dedicated bridge now stands as a memorial to Ben Campbell, a steadfast detective and loving father and husband. In Millinocket, Sam Miller, ABC 7 and Fox 22 News.
Well, in other news this morning, a daycare in Trenton has been shut down for 9 days now due to a DHHS order, something the owner claims is in retaliation for her reports against the department. The Maine Department of Health and Human Services issued a 10-day suspension to Tiny Tykes in Trenton. According to the department, daycare workers were missing background checks, CPR and first aid certifications, and child care provider forms. Additionally, DHHS claims that 6 of the 16 children on site at the time of that inspection did not have documents permitting emergency medical treatment. 9 days into the order, gubernatorial candidate Bobby Charles came by the daycare to listen to parents, workers, and owner Betsy Grant share their stories. During that conversation, Grant said that the order was unjust. She did not want to be on camera, but she says that DHHS is retaliating against her due to the reports that she made about neglect in the department. In 2025, she filed a lawsuit claiming the same.
I guess I was just shocked by the series of allegations that have begun to pile up around DHHS, and in particular around how they have apparently retaliated in many ways against providers of child care.
We reached out to the Department of Health and Human Services for comment and left a message with our request. They did not respond. DHHS advised Grant to hire qualified and vetted workers at that time or close the facility until her current staff can get the proper paperwork.
As students flood back to Maine college campuses, business owners say another back-to-school trend is making its way through the door, and those are fake IDs. Our Alex Schley has more on what businesses are doing to crack down.
You'll definitely see a bit of an uptick.
According to the National Institute of Health, Orientation Week and the first week of classes, also known as Syllabus Week, are among the heaviest periods for alcohol consumption during the academic year. And for underage students looking to join in, that can mean attempting to use a fake ID.
At the beginning of the year, you'll find some similarities between them, I guess. So you'll start to know after a couple what to look for.
Maxon says while fake ID production has gotten more advanced, there are certainly tells, so vendors are educating staff on those tells and how to detect them.
As different states do different things and change, like that, just like we have in Maine with all the different holograms and whatnot. So.
And leaders have one thing to say to students looking to use a fake ID this semester.
Good luck. I mean, the staff's pretty good.
Any fake IDs that are seized are turned over to law enforcement. Officials also remind students that using a fake ID can lead to criminal charges. In Orono, Alex Schley for ABC 7 and Fox 22 News.
Well, the time now is 8:11. Coming up next on Good Morning Maine, Canada has removed seafood products for its retaliatory tariff list. We'll have more on that ahead.
But first, another look at that forecast. Today will be partly cloudy with a chance of passing thunderstorms. High temps around 78 degrees. Thunderstorms ending tonight with the lows dropping down to the mid-50s. Mostly sunny tomorrow. High temps around 78. We'll be right back.
It looked like another government shutdown that would cut Maine families off the programs they need. But Senator Susan Collins led the fight to keep government open, bridging the divide between Republicans and Democrats, and protecting federal funding and critical family services to help children and mothers in need. Senator Collins' bipartisan leadership makes a difference. Call and tell Senator Collins to keep government working for Maine families.
Around here, you take pride in your home, and who you trust to work on it matters. That's why folks turn to AF&F Carpentry. From kitchens and custom woodwork to full home renovations, we bring military-grade discipline and focus to every project. Our work has been featured on Operation CEO. No shortcuts, no surprises, just solid craftsmanship you can count on. AF&F Carpentry, serving Maine homeowners with pride.
You build more than projects. You build what communities rely on. When the job site runs on results, put Kubota to work. Backed by expert service and support from your local Kubota dealer. Right now, bring home select Kubota KX Series with 0% financing available or save up to $7,000.
Available at Doors Equipment, 1468 Outer Hammond Street, Bangor.
This weekend on Fox, the stars of IndyCar take on the Milwaukee Mile for 2 races in 2 days, while Alex Palou closes in on an unprecedented 4-peat.
We are witnessing history.
It's now or never. Is anyone fast enough to catch him? Because if you blink, he'll take it.
Palou is in a world of his own.
Saturday at 2:30 Eastern and Sunday at 1 on Fox. Welcome to the fastest racing on Earth.
Welcome back, everyone. Canada has removed seafood and fish products from its retaliatory tariff list. According to a statement from the Canadian Finance Department, their decision late Wednesday night was based on, quote, feedback and to protect against broader economic harms. Removing the 25% tariff is welcome news to Maine's Lobstermen Association, who says it would have put downward pressure on an industry already operating on thin margins. Its executive director, Patrice Macron, said in part, quote, we appreciate Canada's decision to listen to the concerns raised by the seafood industry and remove seafood from these tariffs. We urge both governments to continue protecting the long-standing tariff-free trade in lobster that benefits fishermen, businesses, and coastal communities throughout North America. Canada's retaliatory tariffs are expected to go into effect on September 8th.
A Maine defense technology company cut the ribbon on a brand new facility in Old Town Thursday that will give them the space and materials to test combat and defense software. Turbine One is a defense technology company that creates machine learning algorithms and other software so that warfighters can figure out how to find their targets or defend themselves against attacks. A lot of that work is related to drones. The facility they cut the ribbon on will be used to build inexpensive drones and other equipment that will allow them to test the software they formulate, but not destroy expensive equipment during that testing process.
The typical drones, they run anywhere from $6,000 upwards of much more. And that kind of stuff, you can't take the chance that it's going to crash or destroy it just because you'd want it to. So we've actually made it so that you can get it down to, say, $50 around much cheaper materials, particularly around wood and maybe, as we're finding, wood pulp.
Macker says they hope to be able to make, sell, and ship packs of those low-cost drones to their defense sector customers. He also said technology currently under development at the University of Maine Composite Labs might enable them to use even cheaper materials in the future to bring the tester drone price down even more.
Well, more than 30 EMS professionals were recognized in Augusta. Our Grace Blanchard with that story.
EMS clinicians, partners, and organizations were honored at the State House Thursday for their dedication to Maine's communities.
I didn't think UVAC would ever get recognized for something like this, but I think it goes to show the hard work that we do because we don't get paid for what we do. We truly just have passion and we love what we do and we don't need anything for it, but this is just, it's amazing.
This year's celebration marks the 36th anniversary of the Maine EMS Awards.
In Maine, we have more than 280 individual EMS services. And that consists of individuals that may be your neighbors, your loved ones, and they are there to respond on a minute's notice.
However, EMS leaders say low funding and staffing levels are straining the industry.
Anyone in the state expect when they dial 911, they're going to get an ambulance. And we try as hard as we can to do that and make that happen, but it's not always the case.
Sears says that's why there's a strong push to fund EMS education and training so the next generation can answer the call.
Really, it starts with the education. So if we could support them in the training and education and really mentor them and get them into the workforce, that's going to help everybody.
In Augusta, Grace Blanchard, ABC 7 and Fox 22 News.
Well, the time now is 8:17. After the break, jury deliberations are now underway for the Lindsay Clancy trial. We'll have more on that ahead.
Plus, Penquiz has been awarded an extension for their transportation services. We'll explain the good news as Good Morning Maine continues.
When you say let's go to breakfast, you mean let's go to McDonald's. Obviously.
Get 2 sausage McMuffin with egg for $6 and any size iced coffee for just $1.69.
Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
Need a driveway paved or an entire road surfaced? Give Eaton Paving and Excavation a call. Eaton Paving offers a full line of excavation packages, from new home projects to new and replacement septics and driveways. We also install new shoreland and do shoreland repairs. Our operators have more than 75 years combined experience, and we have been delivering quality, professional service for nearly 3 decades. We strive to exceed your expectations. Give us a call today at 207-348-5630 or visit us at eatonpaving.com.
Kirk Fisher is a motorcycle attorney with first responder experience. He protects fellow riders and those in danger, fighting fires and fighting for your rights. Experienced, determined, and dedicated. Iron Horse Motorcycle Lawyers. Look for motorcycles, or Kirk Fisher will be looking for you.
So we found a new date spot.
With the best food in town. We're talking fresh sushi, fancy cheese, and fruit, plus dessert.
All our favorites, all in one place. So good.
Try it.
You have to try it.
Oh.
You gotta try this sushi. It's always so fresh at Hannaford.
You just can't get this anywhere else. And here, we get to pick our own music.
Hundreds of quality items made fresh daily. If you know, you go.
Now, at McDonald's, you can choose your study meal or even your drive-through dinner with McValue.
Get a McDouble meal deal for $6, or make that a hot and spicy McChicken meal deal for $5. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
Continuing our coverage of Penquist's Motive Care and non-emergency transportation services for Maine Care members. The nonprofit has been awarded an extension to manage its services for those members.
Our Doug Banks with that story.
Penquist CAP has provided transportation services for over 40 years, serving
anywhere from 5,000 to 6,000 a month of unique individuals that we transport.
It's really a convenience. It's been a great service. I think they're angels. I'm lucky to have them.
Those rides can range from medical and vet appointments to birthday dinners and grocery shopping. For the last 13 years, the nonprofit has provided non-emergency transportation services for Maine Care members in Penobscot and Piscataquis counties. But in 2023, Colorado-based Motive Care was awarded a 10-year, $750 million contract by Maine DHHS, effectively making them the statewide provider of those services. Penquist appealed that decision based on a lack of public input and transparency. Despite their efforts, Maine's highest court affirmed the state's 2023 decision. Penquist's operating contract was originally up at the end of the year, but Maine DHHS has since extended it to June 30th.
Of 2027. That means that everyone that utilizes that service can still reach out to Penquist and schedule in the same way through that period of time.
Motive Care will step in as a broker for the program. A senior VP of the company told us they intend to work alongside Penquist to provide the service.
We'll definitely come to the table and be interested to see if we can make a partnership work to ensure that Mainers are getting where they need to go in a reliable, safe way.
In Bangor, Doug Banks, ABC 7 and Fox 22 News.
Certainly some great news for them, and further information for Maine Care members utilizing Penquist's transportation services can go to our website at foxbangor.com. That's where you'll find the information you need.
Yeah, this has kind of been an ongoing thing for a while, so this is definitely good news for them.
So many people depend on it.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Well, now let's get a full look at our forecast with meteorologist Devin Biggs.
Alrighty, Craig and Janessa, thank you very much. Your full weather forecast brought to you by Clifton General Store. Start your morning right at Clifton General Store. Fresh coffee and hot breakfast. Family owned and operated. Alrighty, here we go. Let's get into things. We do have reduced visibility across parts of Washington County this morning. You can tell we're down to about a couple miles or even less. So as a result of this reduced visibility, we do have a dense fog advisory up until about 9 a.m. this morning in this part of the state. You can see where it's in effect, so definitely be careful if you are traveling there this morning, as it will be difficult to see for quite some time. Checking out the wave heights, we're at around 3 feet according to the buoys. No small craft advisories or anything are in effect this morning. A lot of places are at around 3 feet, so overall we are looking pretty good as we do start things off. Meanwhile, no precipitation in our backyard. We do have some clouds developing from the southwest going toward the north and east. Some other areas seeing some precipitation at this time. We will see some more showers and thunderstorms for us as we head throughout the daytime period today, with an area low pressure, a cold front passing through before we clear things out later on tonight, and tomorrow being a nice day. So let's get into things here. Again, we do have some clouds, some more showers, and a few rumbles of thunder on the way for us today. And then later on tonight, look at this. Everything clears on out of here, and Saturday, look at this, being a very nice day. Just some clouds developing for the afternoon and evening time frame, and even then that will be rather minimal. Then a little bit more energy on the way as we head towards early Sunday. As for the wind, not too bad. A few gusts getting close to 20 miles per hour, so a little gusty, but nothing too extreme there. The winds, all right, a few gusts as we head towards overnight, but then Saturday, any gusty winds will be farther off towards the north through the afternoon. All right, your forecast coming up for today. A few thunderstorms, otherwise partly cloudy. Highs in the upper 70s, and a south wind at about 5 to 10 miles per hour. Higher gusts are possible. By tonight, some thunderstorms early, then clouds and fog overnight with lows in the mid-50s, and that northwest wind at about 5 to 10 miles per hour. For tomorrow, a beautiful day, mostly sunny, highs in the upper 70s. Northwest wind at about 5 to 10 miles per hour. And your extended forecast Sunday, more showers and some thunderstorms with low 80s for the high. And then Monday, mostly sunny with highs in the upper 70s. And then Tuesday, some showers with highs in the upper 70s.
We've got a 100-year-old company here, and it's because of the service, the quality, and the experience. It gets done right.
I think we've been doing it for so long the only thing that we do, that when we walk into a room, we automatically know how to treat that window. We can take any product that the customer's looking for and make it work in just about any situation that they present us with. So
There's no reason to be overwhelmed when we can help you through it.
we're not going anywhere. We've been around for 100 years.
Here at Twin City Tire and Service, you will be working with industry professionals. We have ASE certified master technicians and certified tire and lube technicians. If we need your vehicle for a duration of time, we offer a complimentary shuttle service and can even offer a loaner vehicle. Being a client at Twin City Tire and Service means that we will treat you right. This includes a 3-year, 36,000-mile warranty on mechanical repairs. We also provide you with 1 year of complimentary roadside assistance. Come see us today at Twin City Tire and Service in Brewer.
Chevy drivers across America will do a lot in the next 5 years. But one thing they won't do is pay interest on their new Chevy. Right now, get 0% financing for 5 years on all 2026 Silverado 1500 models. With no payments for 90 days. Because you've earned this summer. Now it's time to go get it.
Visit your main Chevy dealers.
You don't get to buy the government that you want.
But let's look at what Troy Jackson did. Because Troy Jackson likes to keep it in the family. When Jackson was state Senate president, his son was one of the highest paid lobbyists in town. Special interests paid his son, and Jackson changed his positions. Was it a coincidence, or was something corrupt? Troy Jackson is just another dirty politician. SLF PAC is responsible for the content of this advertisement.
The fate of Lindsay Clancy is now in the hands of a jury. Her lawyers claim that she was suffering from severe mental illness when she killed her 3 kids, while prosecutors insist that she knew what she was doing. Here's ABC's Andrea Fujii.
It's day 2 of jury deliberations in the Lindsay Clancy murder trial. The jury of 9 women and 3 men are deciding the fate of the Massachusetts mother who killed her 3 young children.
This young lady is not guilty of the killing of her children because she was suffering from a disease and defect.
The defense arguing she did not knowingly strangle them, saying instead that Clancy was a devoted mother and a nurse, but was plagued by severe postpartum psychosis, made worse by a mix of more than a dozen psychiatric medications.
Clonazepam, quetiapine, diazepam, quetiapine. It goes on and on and on and on and on.
But the prosecution claims Clancy knew what she was doing when she sent her husband out that day on errands.
The indifference that she showed to their pain, to their struggle, to their suffering, leaving them there on the floor with the bands around their necks.
The prosecutor claiming Clancy killed her children because they were the only protective factor keeping her from trying to take her own life.
Those kids were keeping her from ending her misery. And so she had to remove the protective factor. And I'm not saying she was happy about it. I'm saying that it was what she had to do to end her misery. But it was a choice.
Clancy does not deny taking her children's lives and is now in a wheelchair after jumping from a window after their deaths. It's now up to the jury to decide if she goes to prison or a mental health facility.
Andrea Fujii, ABC News, New York.
In other news this morning, rescuers were racing to find hundreds of people still missing after a catastrophic flash flood struck the Himalayan border between Nepal and China 2 days earlier. The death toll rose, and authorities warned that an overflowing lake formed after that disaster could trigger further flooding. Nepal police say that the country's death toll had risen to 469, while China had not updated its report of just 3 deaths in Tibet. Together, the 2 countries have said more than 1,500 people are still missing. They urged people in potentially affected areas to move to safer ground. The Nepal Army said that a team was sent to the border point to inspect for the potential for more flooding.
Well, we're now learning more about a close call between a passenger jet and President Trump's Marine One helicopter. It turns out White House construction may be to blame for the communication issues. ABC's Karen Waugh is in Washington with the details.
This morning, new questions about how construction at the White House may have caused a communication issue that allowed a passenger plane at Reagan National Airport to take off almost at the same time as President Trump's Marine One helicopter. Per protocol, commercial airspace should be cleared 3 minutes before Marine One takes off. But the helicopter lost communication with air traffic control. As heard on the radio from August 4th, controllers did not hear any 3-minute warnings from Marine One.
Marine One, you said you're proceeding as briefed?
National Tower, that's Marine One, proceeding as briefed.
Okay, no 3 minutes, Roger, proceed as briefed.
The FAA says the two aircraft were not on course to crash, and President Trump was never in danger. But just yesterday, a similar problem happened again, which forced another helicopter in the presidential fleet to relay messages between Marine One and Reagan Airport's tower.
Marine One, how do you hear?
I can't hear Marine One. If you hear Marine One, can you let me know?
This is the same airport where a military Black Hawk helicopter collided with a passenger plane last year, killing all 67 people on board. On Thursday, investigators released their first report on the Marine One incident, suggesting the new helipad construction at the White House may have caused inadequate line of sight with FAA radio equipment at Reagan Airport. Technicians relocated an antenna to improve communications and are continuing to investigate. In a statement, the White House says it continues to work with relevant military, FAA, and other security personnel to ensure the president's continued safety. Karen Hua, ABC News, Washington.
Well, coming up on the second half of the newscast, we'll meet the face behind Lifestyle Pilates, and I'm going to go do a demonstration.
Yeah, I was going to do it too, but I left my yoga pants at home.
Oh,
so
that's too bad,
I'll
Craig.
just have to watch from afar. We'll have that and more coming up on Good Morning Maine.
Warning, entering Keepsakes may cause extreme creativity. From gorgeous fabrics and cozy yarn to gifts you didn't know you needed, we've got it all. Dive into quilting, grab a sewing machine, or join a class and unleash your inner artist. Stick around for our mystery quilt projects if you love a good surprise. And yes, we have a fudge counter because crafting burns calories, right? Keepsakes, where your hobbies and your sweet tooth live happily ever after.
A homeowner asks, my basement only leaks every few years. Do I need to fix it? Yes. Basements are dry most of the time, but to use the basement, you need it dry all the time, even during storms. Moisture could weaken your foundation, ruin belongings, and create an environment where mold thrives. But our system can keep your basement dry all the time. Call us today for all things basementy.
You're watching Fox 22, Bangor.
Welcome back, everyone. Today is Friday, August 28th, 2026. Whether you can believe it or not, August is almost over. And we're going to get right to some history for you. It was on this date in history way back in 1898. Pharmacist Caleb Bradham of North Carolina changed the name of the carbonated beverage that he had created just 5 years earlier from Brad's Drink to Pepsi Cola. It was renamed after two ingredients used in the recipe, including pepsin and cola nuts. Pepsi, of course, is now a major corporation that sells everything from Doritos to Quaker Oats. And it all started as Brad's Drink. In 1957, on this date, Senator Strom Thurmond of South Carolina set a new record for the longest filibuster in Senate history. He spoke for 20 hours and 18 minutes to stall the passage of the Civil Rights Act that year. And in 1963, the Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. delivered his famous I Have a Dream speech in Washington. An estimated 250,000 people gathered in front of the Lincoln Memorial to witness that important moment in history. Got just a few more for you. In 1965, sandwich restaurant chain Subway was founded in Bridgeport, Connecticut. It was created by 17-year-old Fred DeLuca and family friend Peter Buck, and was originally called Pete's Super Submarines. 1968, police and anti-war demonstrators clashed in the streets of Chicago, where the Democratic National Convention was underway. Police used tear gas and billy clubs against the demonstrators and news reporters who were covering that event. 11 people were killed and many were injured during what investigators later called a police riot. All right, let's get to our famous birthdays. Today's birthdays include actor Jack Black. He is 57 today. Country singer Shania Twain is 61. And Olympic gold medal skater Scott Hamilton is 68 years old today. Happy birthday to you also, if your birthday is today. We hope you have a great day. Weather-wise, it looks like we might see a few clouds today, maybe some passing thunderstorms, but overall not a bad day ahead. And tomorrow is looking fantastic. Lots of sunshine. Here's Devin Biggs with the details.
And thank you very much, Craig and Janessa. Happy Friday. Your first weather forecast brought to you by Clifton General Store. Start your morning right at Clifton General Store. Fresh coffee and hot breakfast. Family owned and operated. Alrighty, let's get into things this morning. We do have a dense fog advisory in effect for the southeastern parts of the state, and that will last until about 9 a.m. as we head through this morning, so we are watching for some reduced visibility. And we can see that with the observations that are showing up across parts of Washington County. So definitely be careful if you're traveling in this area. Visibilities will be reduced as a result of some areas of dense fog. In the meantime, we are watching an area of low pressure tracking through. We are seeing some clouds developing, and a few showers and some thunderstorms will be developing today as we do move forward. We are seeing some precipitation to the north for now, and also to the south. We will see some in our backyard as we do move forward today. Futurecast showing some development too, along with some clouds. We'll see things backing off later on tonight, with Saturday being a nice day with everything clearing out. The hourly forecast moving forward again. We'll have clouds, a few showers and thunderstorms on the way, with temperatures warming up into the 70s through the afternoon. Your full 5-day forecast is coming up. Craig and Janessa.
Sounds good. Thank you very much, Devin. Well, now for some more history for you. It was 21 years ago after Hurricane Katrina slammed the Gulf Coast. The region is now remembering the nearly 1,400 lives lost and a storm that forever changed that area. From southeast Louisiana to coastal Mississippi and Alabama, Hurricane Katrina destroyed homes, businesses, and forced thousands of people from their communities. New Orleans took the hit the hardest, suffering catastrophic flooding and leaving 80% of the city underwater. But just 8 months later, Jazz Fest returned, reconnecting that community and showcasing the city's resilience. In the years since, a massive rebuilding effort has brought new schools, facilities, and the redevelopment of entire neighborhoods. Katrina also led to stronger evacuation plans and better communication for emergency crews. And that sense of community remains strong as New Orleans continues to rebuild even now. Hard to believe it's been so long. What a devastating storm that was. All right, when we come back, Max Sturm with all the day's sports news, and we'll also have that special Pilates demonstration for you. You won't want to miss that. Don't go away.
Even if your child has moderate to severe eczema, they can feel the flow, feel the breeze. And Dupixent helps them feel the heal. It helps calm a key source of inflammation under the skin that can cause eczema. Dupixent is the only biologic therapy approved to treat kids as young as 6 months for noticeably clearer skin and less itch. Severe allergic reactions, including skin reactions, can occur. Get help right away for face, mouth, tongue, or throat swelling, wheezing, or trouble breathing. Tell your doctor right away of new or worsening eye problems like eye pain or vision changes, skin symptoms, joint aches and pain, or a parasitic infection. Don't change or stop other treatments without talking to your doctor. Dupixent. Help heal their skin from within so they can stay ahead of eczema. Find an eczema specialist and ask about Dupixent today.
I'm at Bob's with our highly rated Beaumont bedroom.
And I'm at the Jensen's, who bought this similar set from the competition.
Both bedrooms use modern manufacturing techniques for durability, but ours has more finishes, headboard lighting, and costs over $1,000 less.
So dare to compare at Bob's and come celebrate our 35th with us this Labor Day weekend.
Hello, Bob here. The Jensens are coming. Act surprised.
Oh, my Bob!
Bob's Discount Furniture.
Troy Jackson likes to keep it in the family. When Jackson was Senate president, his son was one of the highest paid lobbyists in town. Special interests paid his son, and Jackson changed his positions. Just another dirty politician. SLF PAC is responsible for the content of this advertising.
Yeah. Football is back. The NFL on Fox.
Back in better.
Let's go.
Tell him what's happening. How did he do that?
Going for it all. Oh.
The NFL on Fox all season long.
Rises to the occasion
with some heat. I want to pour gasoline all over that fire.
Welcome back in, folks. The Maine Black Bears begin the Division I college football season with their game versus Townsend University. The season is different for the Black Bears for a couple of reasons. First, their opening game will be played versus a conference opponent. Townsend University finished the 2025 season 7th in the CAA conference with a 6-6 record, but head coach Jordan Stevens says that they are a very talented team that will present a challenge for Maine.
I mean, first of all, their quarterback is very good. True freshman quarterback last year, a guy who's returning and able to make every throw on the field. You know, the other piece with them is just well coached. If you look at like their penalties, their turnover margin, each of the last 3 years when their head coach has been there, it's been, you know, they've been excellent in those areas.
Another difference for the Black Bears, their quarterback, redshirt sophomore Eddie Bueller, will get his first Division I start. He stated earlier this week that he knows what to expect from Townsend, and defensive lineman Kai Presley says if the team stays focused on their game, they will get the job done.
I would say they fire on the ball. They try to knock the ball out. Got to have good ball security. They switch. It seems like they're going to switch between 3 down, 4 down. Just got to be ready for whatever. Just do our job. Know what we have to do to execute.
They got a pretty good O-line, pretty solid running back room, pretty good QB. Got some all-conference recognition. So we just stand in our process, just trying to do the best we can, and just try to cage the guy and just do what we can do.
Let's bring you that game now. Eddie Bueller gets it going in the second quarter as he floats one high to the end zone for Malik McNeely. He's got it from 18 yards out, and Maine takes the early lead. Rashawn Marshall would score to make it 14-0, and then with less than a minute left in the half, Bueller is back to slinging it this time. He hits Nick Laughlin, and he is in to extend the lead to 21-0. Second half, 21-8 now. Andrew Indorf fires short, and it's tipped by Sam Oppenheimer and picked off by Braden Isaiah. No score would come from that, and later in the third, Indorf makes up for it with a 59-yard bomb. It's caught in stride by Cleveland Charlton. Suddenly, it's 21-15. And then with the fate of the game in the hands of the defense, it's Oppenheimer and Irv Wiggins Jr. combining for the strip on the runner. Black Bears take over, and they win 21-18. Let's move to the NFL now, and the Patriots who took on the Cleveland Browns in their third and final preseason game on Thursday. This one starts for the Browns, getting the opening score. Dylan Gabriel toss outside to tight end Luke Floria. He cuts the corner and gets into the end zone, 7-0 Browns. But the Pats respond, and Tommy DeVito loads up from 45 yards out. It's Kyle Williams on the receiving end, and he takes it in for his third touchdown in 3 games. Let's get him some touches this year. He's been unbelievable. It did not take long for Cleveland to answer back, however, as Gabriel hits Floria again over the middle. Once again, he's in to extend the lead. End of the first half, Gabriel is going to throw his third touchdown pass of the night. This time it's to Amani Marshall, and there really wasn't much more to it here as the Browns go on to win. Let's quickly turn it to the Red Sox, who are coming off a stinker of a loss to the Miami Marlins. Let me just state now that the Red Sox did win the series versus the Marlins, capturing a 4-2 victory on Monday and a 7-3 win on Tuesday. But on Wednesday, it just didn't look like the team was all there as they fell 4-0 in the final game of the series. The Sox didn't do themselves any favors, registering just 5 hits all game and tallying 4 errors in the process. Interim manager Chad Tracy spoke about the mishaps after the game was over.
Yeah, I mean, we had some sloppy play, obviously. When you get them in positions where, you know, they can play their game, which we kept at bay for the most part, but they like to start running and things like that. Obviously, some of those errors were on throws, made one late, but obviously it contributed to a degree to the runs. But at the end of the day, like we didn't score either. Boston
now gears up for their series with the Yankees this weekend. For right now, that's all the time we have for sports. We'll be right back after the break.
Honey, where's the countertop?
I sent it out to the granite shop this morning to be replaced.
Wow.
The quickest turnaround in the business, the Granite Shop in Sedgwick.
Chevy drivers across America will do a lot in the next 5 years. But one thing they won't do is pay interest on their new Chevy. Right now, get 0% financing for 5 years on all 2026 Silverado 1500 models. With no payments for 90 days. Because you've earned this summer. Now it's time to go get it.
Visit your main Chevy dealers.
30 years living in Washington changes someone. I feel like politicians should be working for us, not getting rich from stock trading. But Susan Collins doesn't think so. Susan Collins wants to keep it so that senators can play the stock market, making millions of dollars. While the rest of the state is struggling, it's just wrong. We need to tell Susan Collins to stop the congressional stock trading.
Think you're good at trivia? Arrange these holidays, these historic firsts, these animals. By the way,
I have no idea.
congratulations! You have built the perfect line! I'm Deborah Norville, and this is The Perfect Line.
Onion rings before, in between onion rings and pizza.
Definitely after.
This is what happy looks like.
Weekdays at 10 on Fox 22.
All right, welcome back, everyone. Today we are joined by Leanne Lady, who is the owner and founder of Lifestyle Pilates, which has just recently opened up in Brewer. Leanne, thanks so much for coming and joining us today.
Thank you so much for the opportunity.
So
this is great.
Yeah, you guys have only been open for about a month now.
Mhm.
How has it been so far?
It's been great.
Yeah.
I've luckily I went into the business opening up a new studio with already a dedicated clientele.
Nice.
So I day one was able to get clients in on the reformers and my other
that's
equipment.
awesome.
And it was wonderful.
Nice.
Mhm.
What kind of made you choose Brewer as a location for this studio? Because you're kind of off of Wilson Street, correct?
Right, it's a great little dead end, you know, so
Right.
it's quiet, but
Mhm.
it's easy access, which is wonderful.
That's perfect.
No, it was the community.
Yeah.
I was in class one day and I was just talking to some of my clients and I asked if anybody had any leads on places.
Yeah.
And one of my clients said, yeah, I have a place for you.
Oh.
And so I contacted the owner and the builder and it just kind of happened organically.
That's perfect. And what classes do you offer? We have the mat and all of this laid out right here, which I'm going to do a demonstration on in just a little bit. But what other classes do you have?
So primarily reformer classes.
Okay.
So I have two different pieces of equipment. I have the Pilates reformer, which many people are familiar with, and then I have another piece of equipment called the Coraline machine, which is a completely different beast, but it's fabulous for balance training, and equestrians love it because it's all about stability in your hips. And so it's a wonderful piece of equipment too. But I also do teach mat Pilates. I'm a yoga instructor as well, so I like to do a mixing of a yoga Pilates class. I recently dislocated my knee, my patella, and so I'm dealing with an injury right now, so I can't kneel very well.
Right,
so I don't have any mat classes yet.
Okay, but this will be an example of what you can possibly do. And you know, there are also beginner-friendly options or modifications that you can do. If you look up Pilates on social media or online, sometimes you see everyone standing on the reformer and kind of doing these complicated movements, but it can be simplified.
Pilates is truly for everyone.
Yeah.
Everybody can do it. It's approachable with the right instructor. And I truly believe that it benefits anyone who does it. So that's how I teach. I teach to the body that's in front of me. If someone is more fit and more able, I'll give them more advanced exercises.
Sure.
But if I need to, we use props. We will change the spring tensions. We will just make it so everybody can do it.
Wonderful.
So, and I do have restorative classes. So for people who have mobility issues, people who are injured, anything like that.
Yeah.
And then I have more advanced classes, like my Reformer 2 classes, which are for people who are very fit, very mobile, very active, and then I've got lots of in-betweens.
Definitely very inclusive.
Yes.
All right, so let's get to this. Wish me luck, everyone. We're gonna see how this goes. So we're gonna sit. Is it my back?
You're actually gonna sit right at the edge of there.
Okay.
Your sits bones are right
Perfect.
against the edge, and then you're gonna roll down. Your head should be supported once you lay down.
Okay, perfect. I think I got it.
And then you're just gonna take your hands onto the ground.
Okay.
And the broader your hands are, the more base, the more security you're feeling.
Okay.
So we are on a roller. The roller adds a little bit of balance challenge, right?
Right, it does. I can feel it.
Yeah. So we are going to do a basic Pilates mat exercise called a dead bug. Okay. So, but to start, we always want to try and do it in neutral because neutral spine is a functional place to be.
Okay.
Which means when you walk around, we walk around in a neutral curve as
Right.
opposed to walking around with a posterior pelvic tilt where the pelvic is tilt under or the other way.
Okay.
So neutral means a little gap right underneath your low back. Okay.
Yep.
And then we're going to just try and stabilize that. as
Okay.
We're going to start on this right leg. We're going to create a tabletop position. Now, table is the shins. So that should be parallel with the ground.
All
and
right.
We're about 90 degrees. So we're just going to take that leg. We're going to lower it down. And then we're just going to lift it up. So I'm just going to have you start on that side. Do a few like that.
Okay.
So we're moving from the hip, not the low back. The
Okay.
lower leg, pretend it's not even there.
Hopefully this is right.
Yeah. And we want to breathe. We inhale on the way up,
Whoops.
which is the reverse of what a lot of people want to do.
Yes.
Reverse breathing, very normal. Okay, pause there. We're going to
Yep.
switch just to even you
Okay.
out. So we're going to lift this leg up. Yeah, we're going to find that lovely 90. And then we're going to lower. And then we're going to lift. And we're going to lower. So we inhale, it's light as a feather, and it's heavy like dragging through water on the way back down. So we want to create lightness, but then tension in the core so you're active as
Yes,
the way down.
I can feel it. Trust me.
And now we're going to just do a few alternating and see how that roller comes into play.
Okay,
So
so
you're going to lift one up, you're going to softly land, and then we're going to switch and lift the other up. And softly land. Now keep going. Now as you're doing that, the pelvis is wanting to kind of twist and
Yes.
twerk. Yep. We are just trying to keep it as still as possible. A little bit of movement is fine, but the stiller we can be, the more stable we are.
okay.
Okay, so we're gonna do one more on that left side.
All right. Perfect.
And
Okay.
So,
Woo!
one more thing real
Yes.
quick. We're gonna just do some arm arcs.
Okay.
So this is another stability exercise. Wider the feet, the more stability you'll
Okay,
have.
okay.
Just reach your arms towards the ceiling, just like that. Okay. And all you're gonna do is reach your arms over your head. Now, as we do that, we try to keep the rib cage down so it doesn't lift up off the roller. And then we bring the arms all the way back down by your side.
Okay.
So we will exhale on the way over. That engages the ribs, pulling the ribs down, and then we inhale to float back.
Okay.
And we always want to keep a soft neck.
I don't know if that, I don't know if I can do that, but I'll try. It actually does really help with like balance and coordination. I really feel like it.
Pilates?
Yes, in general, or
Absolutely.
even using like the foam roller helps a lot too, I feel.
So Pilates, different schools have different thoughts. I did my certification through an internationally recognized program while I was living in Australia. Four-star Pilates, and they have lots of good principles, science-based. So,
all right, well, I did it. Leanne, thank you so much for coming in and joining us.
I am so happy that I was able to show you and hopefully bring Pilates to the Brewer Bangor area.
Absolutely.
And expose more people to it.
And I'll link your website on this as well at foxbangor.com. We're going to turn things right back over to meteorologist Steven Biggs.
All right.
Alrighty, Craig and Janessa, thank you very much. Your full weather forecast brought to you by Clifton General Store. Start your morning right at Clifton General Store. Fresh coffee and hot breakfast. Family owned and operated. Alrighty, here we go. Let's get into things. We do have reduced visibility across parts of Washington County this morning. You can tell we're down to about a couple miles or even less. So as a result of this reduced visibility, we do have a dense fog advisory up until about 9 a.m. this morning in this part of the state. You can see where it's in effect, so definitely be careful if you are traveling there this morning, as it will be difficult to see for quite some time. Checking out the wave heights, we're at around 3 feet according to the buoys. No small craft advisories or anything are in effect this morning. A lot of places are at around 3 feet, so overall we are looking pretty good as we do start things off. Meanwhile, no precipitation in our backyard. We do have some clouds developing from the southwest going toward the north and east. Some other areas seeing some precipitation at this time. We will see some more showers and thunderstorms for us as we head throughout the daytime period today, with an area low pressure, a cold front passing through before we clear things out later on tonight, and tomorrow being a nice day. So let's get into things here. Again, we do have some clouds, some more showers, and a few rumbles of thunder on the way for us today. And then later on tonight, look at this. Everything clears on out of here, and Saturday, look at this, being a very nice day. Just some clouds developing for the afternoon and evening time frame, and even then that will be rather minimal. Then a little bit more energy on the way as we head towards early Sunday. As for the wind, not too bad. A few gusts getting close to 20 miles per hour, so a little gusty, but nothing too extreme there. The winds, all right, a few gusts as we head towards overnight, but then Saturday, any gusty winds will be farther off towards the north through the afternoon. All right, your forecast coming up for today. A few thunderstorms, otherwise partly cloudy. Highs in the upper 70s, and a south wind at about 5 to 10 miles per hour. Higher gusts are possible. By tonight, some thunderstorms early, then clouds and fog overnight with lows in the mid-50s, and that northwest wind at about 5 to 10 miles per hour. For tomorrow, a beautiful day, mostly sunny, highs in the upper 70s. Northwest wind at about 5 to 10 miles per hour. And your extended forecast Sunday, more showers and some thunderstorms with low 80s for the high. And then Monday, mostly sunny with highs in the upper 70s. And then Tuesday, some showers with highs in the upper 70s.
Dreaming of a new garage or custom build? Patriot Landscaping and Construction delivers from frame to finish. Expert craftsmanship, durable designs, and quality you can trust. We get it done right. Call Patriot Landscaping and Construction today. Let's build your future together.
Come home to the kitchen of your dreams. At Atlantic Designs, we redefine kitchen spaces, turning your dreams into reality. Our experienced designers ensure you get a stunning new kitchen while bringing function and style to every corner. Whether you're on a tight budget or ready to splurge, we've got the perfect plan for you. Your dream kitchen is closer than you think. So contact Atlantic Designs today and start the process. Your dream kitchen awaits with the kitchen people at Atlantic Designs.
Mainers work hard. Our leaders should too. Like Senator Susan Collins, who just cast her 10,000th vote.
The first senator in U.S. history to reach that mark without ever missing a vote.
Collins worked with Democrats to keep the Gulf of Maine open for our fishermen, kept our shipbuilders on the job with new funding, and Collins expanded health care for rural Mainers. No drama, just hard work and results. Call. Ask Senator Collins to keep working hard for Mainers.
You know Matt pretty well. Did he give you any advice?
He said that I should use 26 words or more.
When every word counts.
Trash panda.
Raccoon.
You hand me a trash panda. That was gangster.
It pays to choose wisely.
Wed, Thurs.
Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
You just won it!
25 words or less every weekday.
Weekdays at 9 on Fox 22.
Dreaming of a new garage or custom build? Patriot Landscaping and Construction delivers from frame to finish. Expert craftsmanship, durable designs, and quality you can trust. We get it done right. Call Patriot Landscaping and Construction today. Let's build your future together.
Well, finally this morning, a lunar eclipse
captivates. I don't know why I have a problem with that word. Captivates stargazers across the western part of the U.S.
Craig.
The moon experienced a deep partial lunar eclipse on Thursday night, with 96% of it passing through the darkest part of the Earth's shadow, causing it to turn reddish in color. Stargazers across swaths of the Americas, Europe, and Africa were all able to catch a glimpse of that event. Lunar and solar eclipses take place because of a precise alignment of the sun, moon, and the Earth.
Very cool.
Yeah, very pretty too.
Well, I just have to say that was a fun segment.
Yeah, I'm sorry
interview.
I missed it. I left my yoga pants at home.
Yeah.
I would have joined you. You look like you were having fun over there.
We were. That's all right, Craig. Next time. That's all the time that we have left for this morning, but as always, we thank you for joining us.
Have a great weekend, everyone.
Today on 25 Words or Less, it's a